Hello, this is Oscar Dadashian from Smile Dental Practice.
Now, what if your implant retained crown or bridge feels loose? Often patients get really worried about it when it gets loose. Now, as you know, implants are made of three parts. The implant itself that's embedded into the bone, and then you have an abutment that is screwed in through that hole. So that abutment is screwed in into the implant through a screw going there, and then the crown goes on top. So remember, all this is then underneath your gum, and when it starts feeling loose, you panic, you don't know what's loose, and you think the worst. So just to reassure you, often it's the screw in here that holds the abutment and the crown in place. Often that goes loose, and it's a very simple thing to fix. So please don't worry about it. And if this is underneath your gum, the only thing you can do is make sure you keep that area very nice and clean around it. Get your interdental brushes in between. I've made another video that I've showed how to put your super floss underneath to clean, how to use your interdental brushes to clean underneath. And if the whole thing comes out, which again, often if it does come out, you then end up having the crown coming out with the abutment and the screw part, and this still stays within your gum. If that happens, you don't worry about that. Try to keep that area very nice and clean, and as soon as you can come to the dentist, we will fix that for you.
Right, let's now talk about loose crowns, bridge work or veneers. You can buy temporary cements online. These are very easy to mix. Please remember, these are only temporary. They are not going to last forever, but they are just meant to hold it together for you and buy you some time. Please do not use super glue. Do not use any other glue that's not meant to be for dental treatment.
So I picked up this dental first aid kit from Boots. It's very straightforward. Please take your time and read the instructions at the back. It's very self-explanatory, and the instructions is very good. Please make sure if you're allergic to eugenol that you don't use this. If you have a throbbing tooth with a swelling next to it, also that's the sort of tooth you don't want to use any temporary on top. So let's say you have a crown that has come out, and you want to put it back in temporarily. First of all, what you do again is that you take your toothbrush and you clean this very gently all the way inside this. Make sure all the debris and all the remaining food comes out and it's nice and clean. Take your toothbrush and very gently you also clean the tooth. Make sure the tooth is nice and clean. Obviously the tooth is going to feel a bit sensitive. That's perfectly fine. Just do it very nice and gently. We want clean surfaces. You then try your crown in first without anything. You try it in, make sure it goes in, make sure it feels nice and snug. You bite together and make sure that feels comfortable. Only then you're ready to fit your crown back in again. So the way you do it is that you take again a piece of this temporary. You don't need to use that liquid anymore. You can, on the tooth itself, again, it will just make the tooth a little bit comfortable, but you don't need to. I'm just making a little bowl or maybe a rice grain out of this. And I'm just going to put that inside. So once it's in there, I'm going to just make sure that I spread this out. You don't need much. If you put in there a lot of material, then it's going to be hard to keep it clean. So make sure you basically just spread it out, put it a little bit everywhere. Very thin layer. Preferably you want to make it as even as possible. So as you can see, I haven't necessarily filled the inside of it, but I've done the edges, the side of it, because that's the most important part. And then I place it on the tooth. When you place it on the tooth, it's going to feel raised. It hasn't gone in because the material is there. This material is going to function as a space filler. So then you have to gently press it in, make sure it goes in place. And that's the time you then start biting on it and make sure that it goes in fully. Obviously don't bite too hard to break your tooth, but definitely bite on it, make sure it goes in and it feels comfortable. Now, if you put too much material in there, when you bite together, it's not going to go in. Even if you put pressure, it's not going to go in. So that's very important that you don't put too much material in. But what if that happens? What if you put it in, you bite together, and it's very hard, it's too high, you can't push it any further in. It's going to take a while for this to set, 2 to 3 hours. So you feel free to remove the crown. Again, brush everything, brush this clean, remove some more of that material, and then pop it back in again and try it back in. And again, just bite together and make sure it's all in. You can do exactly the same thing if it is a bridge that has come out. You do the same thing, you clean the adjacent teeth, you fill this up and you put it back in. If it's a bridge on implants, same thing there. You clean everything up inside here and on the abutments, put a little bit of a material in there and bite together. And same thing if it's a single crown on an implant. You do exactly the same sort of a thing to put it back in.
Do not hesitate to contact us, your own local practice, and we can very easily help you with advice over the phone. Thank you.